Hey, everybody, welcome to Behind the Mic. I'm Nina Taylor. My special guest is coming to us all the way from the great state of Minnesota. That's right. He is Gary Hines from the group, the wonderful Sounds of Blackness. How you doing, sir? How are you?
I am blessed through it all. I am always better when I'm in your presence, Queen Nina. On behalf of Sounds of Blackness, thank you for having us on your amazing show.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Now, first, I gotta say something about this you're giving me Superman vibes here. What's going on? You work out all the time?
Well, I've got on a woke tank top, which I'll do a shameless plug and show you.
Okay. Ooh, I love that. I love it.
And there's one on the way to you in the mail. It was mailed this morning. Actually, a T-shirt, not a tank top. But of course,
Wonderful.
that's our brand new single, Woke. And
Uh-huh.
I'm wearing this not only to rep that, but because as we were discussing off the air, it's serious Martha and the Vandellas heat wave here in Minneapolis and across much of the country. Now, I know that song is before your time, but it's a
Oh, that's
serious heat wave. And so it's
wow.
95 humid here in Minneapolis. So we are in tank tops and shorts.
Uh-huh. So that's a break from your 12 feet of snow that you usually get. Now, how long
Yes.
does the summer and the winter, does it last like the same amount of time or is it longer there?
You know, we're, as I was also saying off air, we
Mhm.
are known here in Minnesota, as we should be, for our winters and the snow and
Yeah.
the cold.
Mhm.
But we actually have traditionally very hot summers. They're
Yeah.
just usually not very long. So
Mhm.
anywhere from late October through early April, it's cold snow. I mean, all bets are off. But then I must say, even as a proud native New Yorker, for about 4 or 5 months out of the year, in a lot of ways, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul are hard to beat.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you do to stay in shape? Do you jog and I mean, what do you do?
I've always been a gym rat,
Yeah,
and yeah, so weightlifting is one of my passions in life, and I had a knee replacement a few months ago, and so I incorporate my physical therapy of knee replacement movements into my daily workout. And I tell people all the time, it's not about discipline; it's about habit. A lot of people think themselves out of doing it. It's like, don't think about it. It's like getting up, showering, brushing your teeth, combing your hair. Just do it, like Nike says.
Mhm.
And the other thing I usually say is that the
Mhm.
physical benefits are the last. It's spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically strengthening and invigorating. And then the physical part is the least of the benefits.
Wow. Well, you look fantastic. I've got
Oh, thank you. It's just the shirt. Thank you.
no, it's not. All right, you're making this shirt look good. All right, let's get to the sounds of blackness. You guys have a long history in not only gospel but in R&B, inspirational music. I've heard you on pop stations. I mean, you guys are all over the place. Why don't you take everybody back to the beginnings of the group, since you are one of the early members?
Certainly. Sounds of Blackness Foundation began in 1969 at my alma mater, Macalester College, here in the Twin Cities. And Macalester is predominantly a white institution of higher learning, but they embarked on a very ambitious program called EEO, Expanded Educational Opportunities, to conscientiously recruit students of color, primarily African American, and it was very successful. One of the results of that is that the students themselves, ourselves, actually began a number of different organizations. There was a political group that still exists. I'm so glad that it does. BLAC, the Black Liberation Affairs Committee. There was a dance and theater group called Black Arts Midwest. And there was this 50-voice choir called the Macalester College Black Voices under the direction of Mr. Russell Knighton, a native of Beaumont, Texas. Well, fast forward to January of 71, Russell was getting ready to graduate, and he asked me on as director. And Nina, I have to say that the vision that God gave me upon being involved with the group was to follow the tradition of Duke Ellington. Now that surprises a lot of people when I say that, because we hear Duke's name and we think of jazz, as we should. But
Yes.
too many people don't know that Duke wrote, recorded, and performed spirituals, blues, work songs, field hollers, African music, every sound of blackness, every sound of our culture. And so we were then, and we are now, wanting to be a cultural speaking voice of Black America. So a lot of times we're incorrectly labeled as a gospel group. Now we are Christians, so that's not offensive, but it's just incomplete. And I tell our church brothers and sisters who sometimes struggle with the idea of secular and sacred music side by side, that you can't fully appreciate the glory, hallelujah, of the gospel without the pain of the blues, the history of the spirituals, the complexity of jazz. All of that is part of our testimony. And without any part of it, our testimony is incomplete.
Wow, that is so true.
Mm-hmm.
So took that choir and blended it, or what did you do to get them to form Sounds of Blackness?
Well, as Sounds of Blackness, again, we wanted a name that would fit that repertoire, and so that's the meaning and origin of the name. And then an interesting side note: I know you know and love, as we do, the artist Stokely, formerly of Mint Condition. The reason he comes into to play here is that his father, the great Professor Mahmoud El-Kadi, is a great world-renowned professor of African and African American history, and he was on the campus at the time, and he encouraged us to not just to be a band, but for Sounds of Blackness to be a cultural institution and to incorporate. And so even as students in 1975, and I'm one of the only, well, the only original member now that's still actually performing, but we formed a corporation, Sounds of Blackness Incorporated, so that we'd be eligible for grants and so that we would be an institution. Now we have Sounds of Blackness second generation. Many of our current members are actually offspring of original members. Of course, Jamesia Bennett, our featured soloist, is the daughter of the great Ann Nesby, who I know would want me to send love to you. And Cynthia Johnson, who people may not know that name up front, but if I say Funky Town, they know who that is. So her daughter, Nika, is one of our wonderful sopranos. So this is really Sounds of Blackness second generation. And thanks to the advice of Mahmoud El-Kadi, we are an institution more than just a band, our singers and our musicians.
Wow, that's awesome. So what keeps you guys going? What keeps you going, particularly? Because you've been in the band for a long time.
Yep, we just celebrated our 52nd anniversary this past January. And what keeps us going, Nina? Well, here's the formula. First and foremost, only by the grace of God. Now, as I said before, I ain't got a whole lot of sense, but I got enough to know that. First and foremost, by the grace of God, and then the dedication and talent and perseverance of Sounds of Blackness singers and musicians, past, present, and future. And the third component involves you. And so on behalf of Sounds of Blackness, I say thank you to Nina, to Gospel Express, to all radio that has supported Sounds of Blackness and all the different institutions, because there's a scripture that says, how will they hear without a preacher? Well, when you apply that to music, how will they hear without a radio station, without a Nina Taylor, without a BET? We can make all the music we want, but if we don't have you all support, people won't hear it. So by the grace of God, by the dedication of our members, and by the support of people like yourself and millions of Sounds of Blackness, we don't call them fans, we call them family members around the world.
Wow. Okay. So speaking of around the world, what's it like going to Africa and actually being able to perform there?
There's barely words to really adequately describe that, Queen Nina, because after decades, literally, of Sounds of Blackness, because from day one, our music has been rooted in the motherland and in protest music, in social justice, which kind of threw radio off, just kind of a little sidebar, when we came out with our Sick and Tired song about George Floyd and Time for Reparations and Black Lives Matter with the Black Lives Movement. They were like, wait, we want another optimistic. We said, no, that's not our roots. That's not how we're being led. Right. But after, and singing about the motherland, one of our first songs that we sang as much as optimistic was a song called Africa. And so, and that was on our very first album that we actually did on our own in 1974. So fast forward to 1994, when our dear friend and brother, Stevie Wonder, invites us to go to, and of course, he is also a citizen of Ghana. He has dual citizenship. Yeah. And he invited us to PANAFest, the Pan-African Festival. And we were so honored to go. And the experience, as Richard Pryor told us years ago, is life-changing. Remember, Richard said, you'll never be the same? And people thought Richard was being funny. Richard was deadly serious, and he was absolutely correct. I'll never forget when the plane landed, They rolled out a red carpet, and even before they let our feet hit the ground, there were greeters there, some of the chiefs of the nation states and queens, and they said, "Welcome home." And of course, tears flowing. We ain't even got out our seats good yet, ain't even said that, and so
Yeah.
that was just the beginning of just an absolutely phenomenal experience. And I encourage everyone of all backgrounds, but especially our African American brothers and sisters and people, to make it part of your life sojourn to get to the motherland at least one time.
Mhm.
You'll never be the same.
Now, did you all actually record there, or did you do the Journey to Africa album after you got back?
No, we actually we didn't record in Ghana. In fact, we were in two cities. We're in Cape Coast and Accra, and we performed twice. And but we did not record. But we had been singing about Africa before, and we sing about Africa now, and we always will.
Yeah,
Um, but to be there, we were there for about a week. And in between the performances, of course, we got to go to the marketplaces and just interact with the people and see people that look like your cousin and grandma and the barber and the beautician and all that. All it's like there's not that there ever was any question, but there's surely no doubt about where we are from. And we also were blessed to go to the Elmina slave castles, which is just literally a life-changing experience. I mean, just to be in there and to see what they call the door of no return. And the room, probably the size of the room you're in now, but with 1,000 people packed in it. And to feel those spirits and souls. And so I'm trying to do it justice, but you have to go.
yeah, you have to go, right?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
goodness. Wow. So you didn't tell me that on the phone that you got to see the castles. That's a
Oh, absolutely, yes.
um,
And literally, and if I could just revisit that for a second, there were rooms like I live in a one-bedroom apartment here. I mean, so and it looks like I don't know what the size of room you're in, but there's a room that's about the size of an average one or two bedroom apartment that they would fit 1,000 people. They would separate the men and the women, and
yeah,
they could hear each other. They could hear their sisters, their mothers, their brothers, their offspring, but they couldn't get to them. And they would hold them there for days and days, sometimes weeks, as the slave ships came. And then there's a small portal that they would go to that they would enter, the hull of the ship, and they call that the door of no return.
yeah,
And the chiefs of the nation states there, I'll say two things quickly about them. Um, they call us the lost children, the children that we lost, that were lost to the sea from the motherland. But they also, without any DNA testing or anything like that, will look you dead in your face and say Hausa, Fulani, Wolof. They'll tell you who you be, and you know what? I bet more often than not they are correct, if not always, because they're looking at facial structure and
yeah,
features that they know.
absolutely. That is
Yeah,
something. Remember, there was a scene in Roots. I don't know if you remember the original Roots,
absolutely.
saying, he was telling Allah that there were people from different tribes there and they've forgotten all about you. He
Yeah,
was basically saying they've forgotten all about Africa and about home.
yes,
And he was looking at them and saying the same thing. That's amazing. All right.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that is one of my things. That's probably the only thing left on my list. I made a list in college of things that I'm going to accomplish in my life, and I've done absolutely all of them but that. So, I-
Please do. I guarantee you, you'll be ever so glad that you did. And again, it's a repetition. You'll never be the same.
absolutely. All
Yeah.
right. So let's get to the music. You guys did a beautiful song for Juneteenth. Let's talk about that first now. Who wrote it?
Thank you. I'll answer that this way. I believe in the words of the great country artist Chet Atkins, who said that there are no songwriters, all music is given. And so Juneteenth celebration was given to me to give to Sounds of Blackness, to give to the country and to the world, because Sounds of Blackness, Queen Nina, have been in anthem mode for the past 5 or 6 years with our recording releases. When we did Time for Reparations 2 years ago. Now the reparations, it needed an anthem, even though the idea of reparations, goes back to the mid 1800s.
Right.
as does Juneteenth. Goes back to the mid 1800s. I emphasize that. I mean, obviously, I know you know that, but so many people speak about it these days, like the whole concept of being woke or reparations or all of those things, like they're new concepts. It's like, no, no, no. This goes way back. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and they are movements. They are facets of our movement overall, or movements within the movement. And to me, the same way we had We Shall Overcome in the civil rights movement, and in the Black Power movement, we had the Godfather, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, and the Queen, Aretha, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black.
Yes.
We needed anthems for these different segments of the movement. And so for social justice with George Floyd, who was murdered 5 blocks from where we rehearse,
Wow.
here in the heart of the South Minneapolis Black community. We did Sick and Tired, the words, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, the words of Fannie Lou Hamer. A lot of people use that phrase, but don't know who that's from. That was from that great human and civil rights icon. And then Time for Reparations and Juneteenth celebration. It's like, okay, so we've been celebrating Juneteenth since the mid 1800s. Now it's been officially signed into law, and there's not an official song for it. Oh no, that's our job. And so that was the impetus behind Juneteenth celebration, as it is behind woke now.
Okay. Beautiful. It's a beautiful song.
Oh,
Now,
thank you.
new music, the only thing I can describe it as is fire, right?
Oh, God bless you.
It,
Thank
it, it
you.
is fire from the beginning to the end. Now, the new song is just called Woke, plain and simple.
Whoa.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Oh, thank you for those words. That means more than I can tell you, Queen Nina. On behalf of Sound of Blackness and myself, and again, to answer the question that you actually asked earlier, I'm blessed to be the vessel that it flowed through to the Sound of Blackness, and now to you and to the world. But woke is another one that people are talking about like it's a new thing. And applying it to all different other kinds of causes and movements. No, wokeness is about blackness, and it always has been. And just a very quick history, even before, well, the word has been in our lexicon as a people, again, going back to the 1800s, not new. And
Right.
even, this is another piece of history, and I'm a history buff in case you can't tell. Um, there was a regiment of white and black soldiers who protected Abraham Lincoln before he was president during his campaign. He was getting death threats, talking about abolition while he was still campaigning. And so they had this squad to protect, and they call themselves the Awake Squad. So it's always, the word has always been tied to that. And then it's been in the language, we going back to the Underground Railroad. I mean, wherever you want to put it, being conscious, awake, and aware of our situation. If you weren't, it could cost you your life. It could get you lynched. And beyond. And so we had to be woke. And then it became more and more popular in the late 20s. The great blues singer Leadbelly wrote a song and said, "Y'all stay woke. Know where you are, know where you're going, what you're doing, know what's going on." And in the mid 30s, the great Marcus Garvey said, "We have to stay woke," with his Back to Africa movement. And so again, everybody, it's not new, but woke now that it's coming to this current season of it. It needed an anthem, and Sounds of Blackness were the ones to provide it.
And rightfully so. All right. What about the other songs on is this an upcoming album with this?
Yes, EP, yes. And in fact, we've got, I say Woke is our current single, our most recent single, but we released a series of singles. Sounds of Blackness is blessed not only with a lot of great musical talent in terms of the stage, singing, and instruments, but we have great songwriters amongst us. Hold Up Your Light, which we released this past fall by Carrie Harrington. She's the first voice you hear on Optimistic, When in the Midst of Sorrow. So just to get some association with that. But Carrie is a great songwriter. She's also our choreographer. And she wrote this song, beautiful, beautiful, powerful song, Hold Up Your Light. Even when your step becomes a stumble, hold up your light. That was followed by a song that we collaborated with our dear brother. We call him Little Buddy, his rapper name, but he's the father of, you probably heard of, it's so sad that there have been more than one police murder here of our youth, Amir Locke. So Buddy is his father, and he wrote a song in honor and tribute to his son Amir called So Thankful, in conjunction with our own Jamesia Bennett, again, Ann's daughter. and his daughter Jamesia is also a great singer, songwriter, producer, and video director. So Carrie directed her video of Hold Up Your Light. Jamesia directed her video of So Thankful, and our next most recent single, You're Gonna Win, which is still all of these everybody can see on YouTube. We want everybody to check out Hold Up Your Light and So Thankful, and You're Gonna Win. All from Sounds of the Pen of Sounds of Blackness, the musicians and voices of Sounds of Blackness. Then that followed Juneteenth celebration and Woke. So yes, we're going to put all of those into an EP.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. Sounds great. All right. Speaking of the pandemic and everything that was going on, how were you guys affected, and what were you doing when we're like in the heart of the pandemic?
As it was for everybody, Queen Nina, that was a really difficult time. But by the grace of God, nothing has stopped us to date, and we didn't let the pandemic do that as well. We did what you and I are doing right now. We rehearsed by Zoom, which was very tedious because only one person could sing at a time. I would teach and review songs, and have 15, 20 singers on the call and have to go one at a time. And they were so patient with that. And then we broke it down into sectionals: sopranos, altos, tenors, basses, even with the band. So we rehearsed by Zoom. We also did some performances via Zoom. We would go to a really large auditorium or theater or studio where we could be distanced, like 10 feet apart. We followed the Broadway protocol, as it's called. I know you're familiar with that, where you had to have like 8 to 10 feet in between you and all these other be masked except right before your performance and all those things, and film performances. And fortunately, we're able to be paid for them. And we did performances for some corporations, for some colleges, from community centers that were, as we call them, virtual performances. So tedious and different, but we dealt with the cards that we were given. You can cry about it or you can make it happen.
That's true.
Right.
I would have loved to have seen some of those rehearsals, virtually, how that was.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Sounds great. Well, how can everybody connect with Sounds of Blackness, and also how can they connect with you?
Please just remember the name, and please do connect with us, and please know that we will respond to that connection within 24, 48 hours max. All you have to do is remember the names, of course, Sounds of Blackness, starting with our website, soundsofblackness.org. Don't worry if you type in .com, it's going to take you there anyway. You can leave us a message there. You can see our dates, upcoming dates, our merchandise, and another shameless plug. And you can purchase our music there as well. Yeah. When you do that, when you purchase merchandise or music from our website, please know that you're also contributing, because we donate a portion of those proceeds to the George Floyd Scholarship Foundation. So we don't just talk the walk, we walk the talk. And in terms of, we're on all the social media sites, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, under either Sounds of Blackness or Gary Hines.
Sounds so good. Gary, my brother, I love you.
Love you more.
Thanks for coming on the Gospel Express again. And look for that show on a station near you. You can always email me by way of my website if you want to hear the radio show with Gary Hines and Sounds of Blackness. We're going to be featuring a lot of their music from the past and some of those anthem songs that we were just talking about. You're going to hear them all on that show. It's a great show, one of the greatest shows I've ever done. I thank you for that too. All right. So thank you, my brother. Thank you, and best wishes with the new song.
Thank you so much. God bless you, Queen Nina, and stay woke.
Thank you.